Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to be doing an analysis and valuation of Espey Electronics MFG, ticker symbol ESP. And this will be a little bit different of an analysis, and you'll see in just a second. But before I start, if you like these kinds of videos, I implore you to please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment telling me what kinds of stocks you want me to look at or what kinds of videos you want me to make. It helps inform me and keep making the content that you would like to watch. Now, without further ado, let's get started. So, SP is a company that does stuff for the military. They're a military contractor. But what they actually make is power supplies, power converters, transformers, magnetic components, power distribution equipment, UPS systems, antennas, high power radar systems, etc. for things like ships, airborne power, ground based radar, and ground mobile power. So for vehicles, basically. And they're on the eligible list of contractors of the US Department of Defense and is automatically solicited by such agencies for procurement needs failing within the major class of products produced by the company. So, yeah, basically, every time something fails, or they need something new, or they need to repair things, SB is basically on the list. They're on that Rolodex. They're gonna be called almost immediately, which is really cool. The reason I'm doing this analysis is because this is a company I already invested in, and I want to show you sort of the valuation of it and the reasons it called my attention. So, in general, I was looking at press releases. For example, this where SP announced that they had a almost $20 million contract with the U.S. Navy's Virginia and Columbia class submarine programs. So that's really cool. Something cool about it is that's kind of paid up front and almost pretty much guaranteed funding because that's being funded by the US taxpayer. And that's kind of a budget that already exists. So even in times of economic crisis, it's just kind of very rare that something like that would be canceled. And it would just be next year's budget that would be a little lower, and maybe next year's contracts that would be a little lower. But usually these are kind of settled in and paid through. This was a press release from about April, and that's what put SB in my radar. Likewise, I'm looking at the world military expenditure. Those numbers are going up a lot. This is all the way up to 2023. It's gone up even more. And it's a changing world, of course. But basically, USA there, you kind of see it under a lot of, well, rotating between the two political parties there. The military budget goes up, actually. So, even in the low years over here in the 2010s, which were somewhat peaceful, the budget is still a lot higher than in other years. So, it's growing. It's growing, and it looks like it's still growing. In 2025, there was military expenditure everywhere, you know? So, yeah, in general, it's just very interesting because there are secular and macroeconomic trends that are pushing towards this. This is something where if your ethics allow you to invest in military stuff or military contractors, then looking at SBOK, I say there's a $20 million contract. I'm going to look at the revenue numbers and holy cow, I mean $44 million for 2025. So that's basically like half their revenue in just one contract. If they get a couple more of these, it's basically guaranteeing that they're going to stay growing for a while here. And if we look at their track record, sure, not every year is consistent. 2017, they were down. 2020 and 21, the military budget was a little less. There was a pandemic going on. So the budget was being allocated elsewhere. Yeah, that makes sense. But in general, they've been able to grow or at least stay somewhat consistent. And here's the other thing I like looking at is the margins. And those margins have been, in general, improving. They started out really good, got a little worse, and now we're back to being pretty good again. The return on invested capital also being pretty good. There is some volatility here, especially because you'll see the dividend growth here. They cut the dividend 100%, and then they started growing it again. So, very interesting here that they used to give a dividend per share of $1. They cut it all the way. Now they're giving it again because it's been $1 all along. Don't invest on it because of the dividend, invest on it because you're interested in the growth opportunity here or in the reliable growth. But still, I mean, the picture's looking very interesting, at least with the current kinds of trends. And that's kind of what called my attention. And so I also took a look at the balance sheet to see how secure it was. And I was very impressed here. Look at the total liabilities being around $28 million, a little more. And then look at the assets being basically a little less than $80 million, but just the cash being 18, almost $19 million plus investment security. So just things that they can draw upon to get quick cash already covers their total liabilities, not even their short-term liabilities, the accounts payable, which is 2.64 million. It can cover every single liability. So this balance sheet is incredible. You know, you barely have any debt. You have net cash, really. You have a bunch of almost secured contracts, and you actually have a lot of this still in cash and in investment securities, actually, that are giving you interest. You know, that's fascinating, really. So, amazing balance sheet paired with kind of this growth that is funded by bankers that rarely pull out of these kinds of deals. So I put that in a model. And this is my discounted cash flow model from like 6 months ago. And I said, okay, I'm going to assume a couple things. First of all, in the next 4 years, they're going to grow quicker than usual. I think the growth here was, I mean, it's not quicker than usual. I actually kind of took this year, 2024, and said, let's make that the baseline just to be a little conservative. And I just said kind of 8% growth from 2026 onwards in terms of revenue. And then actually growing then from perpetuity in 3% forever, basically. And then my required rate of return is 11%. That's 1% more per year than the market on average. And then if I divide that by the total number of shares out, what I get in my discounted cash flow model is a fair value of $34.76 per share. But then they have a lot of cash, a lot of accounts receivable, etc., a lot of investment securities there. So if I add that to the share price, I would actually get a value posted of $50.94 per share. This stock has gone up a lot. If you'll seen this last year, shot up a lot, and it's been around for a while. I mean, if you invested in all the way in 1991, you'd have probably been disappointed for many, many years until now. Hopefully, you held all the way until now, but I personally bought this stock when it was about $30 ish, $32, and I bought it because I was saying, even without the piles of cash, it's a little undervalued, but adding on the amazing balance sheet that gives me kind of that margin of safety. I did a very conservative estimate of 8% growth, which is less than they've been growing at, and this balance sheet is so strong that I won't be surprised by anything crazy at this moment. So I said, yes, this is a no-brainer, And right now, sure, I got a value of $51 a share. This is almost at $57 a share, so it looks a little bit overvalued. Um, but even then, look, that P ratio is 18. I mean, it doesn't look crazy still, And if you had a little bit more rosy estimations than I did, saying, hey, this is going to grow at 10%, 12% per year, and actually can grow at 5% in perpetuity, you probably have a valuation that's a little higher. You could probably argue, hey, if I'm willing to take a little bit more risk or be okay with a little bit less of return, I could still go into this, right? But even then, if you went in the right point last year, looking at those kinds of things and looking at those macroeconomic trends, you already made at least 50% on your investment, which is really cool. So a lot of money was already made here, but SP's rise could have been more or less predicted by someone looking at their size relative to their contracts and their backlog and looking at that incredible balance sheet. This means that operationally they can definitely take any sorts of hits or look to expand if that's necessary. But with those kinds of contracts, you're not really needing to expand a bunch or not desperately because you're not trying to outcompete a bunch of people. You're a contractor for the US government. It's a little different and on top of growing margins, which makes it a very interesting deal for a very volatile world. So I have the current valuation. I don't know if it's something that is a screaming buy, but it's very important to keep track of during any pullbacks because that money is still kind of paid by the US government. As long as they have contracts locked in for the next couple of years, that's money that's going to be made. And if that's more than their current revenues and their current size, then that should reflect in the share price in the future, as long as you buy it at a reasonable price. So, how do you keep funding growth? How do you keep creating money, or earning cash? Here, there's a very clear path, which is sort of like those US government contracts and the fact that they're pretty reliable and the fact that the US usually pays these kinds of things. It's really rare that they would default on a military payment of all things. And you're saying, okay, the underlying thing is growing there, which is the US tax base. How much are they collecting in taxes? and the population somewhat is growing. There's things that could threaten that, of course. And in general, the reliability of paying out for that stuff is also growing. So, yeah, I mean, they're funding growth and they have reliable growth there. And you have to kind of ask that for other companies. Hey, this looks like a good deal, but can they keep growing? Is there more people that will buy their products? More companies that will buy their products or services for the next 10, 20, 30 years? Because if that is true, when the price is right, you have the mix there for amazing growth and amazing stock appreciation and great investment returns for yourself. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video and sort of looking back in retrospective and reflecting. So if you like this kind of video, once again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.